I'm Renee Johnson, and I'm here with Gina Gardner. Join us on the journey to new levels of profitable leadership. Gina, this is going to be an interesting part of our conversation we've been having. Here, I would like for us to talk about, and I know you and I agreed on beforehand, is about shifting into a new profits lane as a leader. And so those that are listening, as we're talking here about a profits lane, let's think for a moment of, in your busyness, in your leadership entrepreneurship, however that looks like, again, as we addressed in the first series with that, for you to get out ahead, to have the new levels of profitable leadership, you will be required to carve out your own lane. It's not going to be enough to fall into the crowds and to get into the congestion that you see at the 5 o'clock hour, everybody trying to get to the same destination. Instead, is to hone in on your specific specialties and your overarching vision. Now, we did address some of that, but in this case, it is going to be about taking those leaps where you are looking at where you can do your own growth trajectory so that you can go above the crowd and get up ahead. And, you know, if you think about the principle about waves and how they're coming in and they're flowing in, you have them kind of, they're rolling in, there's gravity and so forth. And as the moon pulls and there's more pressure on that, waves can get higher, you know, or weather fronts come around, they get higher. Now, in our leadership, different things, elements can make our energy expand and contract in our leadership, and our results expand and contract also. What we want to talk about today is about how do you use that energy shifting to really determine and dedicate the lane that you're going to be in, so that as you are riding this new era wave as a leader, that you're not afraid to get out in front of the wave, that you're not behind pedaling trying to catch up, that you're not just on top waiting for it to be just right to crest, but you're actually, as surfers do, because I was a surfer girl growing up in California, is you get a little bit ahead of the wave. So now you're drafting the energy, the momentum, which is going to push you forward. But in doing that, you have to carve out your own lane. You literally have to look from where you're at and where you're going to be in the next cut and the next cut and the next cut. And that is something that is not, it may seem, you know, in your day-to-day business, yeah, I got to look at my goals, I got to do this, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about getting up ahead in the leadership arena and using that voice that we talked about previously and those awareness and really honing in on the comprehensions that we talked about in ways to build your leadership and your profits models and business. But now you're in a different trajectory, a different position to make an impact. So in your lane, what kind of carve, what kind of impact are you looking to make, and how do we go about that? Gina, what are your thoughts in carrying that conversation forward?
I think for many people who are starting to recognize that we are requiring a very new way of being moving forward, I think the first thing is that if you're going to be a leader, then if you think about the meaning of the word leader means that you are out in front. There's going to be lots of people who will be naysayers and say, you're silly, why are you doing that? Stick with the old stuff. So for me, there's a number of different levels to this. And the first is that staying in your own lane, recognizing that actually you have got to move forward, recognizing that if you know your why, if you've started to open your consciousness, that when people say to you, you're foolish, why are you doing that? That's silly. What on earth are you talking about? That you can actually recognize, okay, I know where I am heading. I might not necessarily know the whole way there, but I'm going, and I recognize that what I'm doing is right. So that's the first layer, if you like, is to recognize that you have the understanding that this is your purpose. That this feels right, it feels light, there's an ease and grace to it, that when people tell you that you shouldn't, you mustn't, it's silly, it's not going to work.
Don't take that risk. What are you, crazy? Get out of head. Come on, come play and play safe. Just paddle around in the ocean. You don't need to be getting up on those waves, right?
So you watch Olympic athletes, when they come out of the blocks, they just go. They don't look around. They just know they're going to run their own race. They're not running anybody else's race. And I think that's really, really important. I also think that, we can choose to be in the slow lane. We can choose to take this at any pace we want to. But if you're one of those people who wants to really be in the vanguard, to actually be a leader of leaders, I think that time is of the essence. And that part of this is about being in a lane, the fast lane. It's about being accelerated. It's about recognizing that there needs to be that momentum. And, if you carry on with the running metaphor, that you'll have pace setters in a long race who go in front because they will then take the wind, won't they? And they'll give that draft for people to drag them along. And I think that we're talking about the pace setters. We're talking about those who recognize that they are those who are going to lead the rest of the people there. And in order to do that, you have to play your own race. You have to stick within your lane and be fairly single-minded in terms of, this is my purpose. I'm going to take people with me. It's important. It's something that I recognize is what I'm here to do, and I'm going to get on with it.
I like that. It's when we are in our lane, we get to be in more of the experience.
Yeah,
and that's something.
It's not a spectator sport.
No, it's not a spectator
sport.
No, you've got
getting into the game and being prepared to
being
go
immersed in that. Yes, being immersed in that. So I agree. Creating that experience for yourself. And so even though there is this impending momentum that is happening, because all around us, in our universe around us, there's a change. And you see those that are rising up, those that are starting to listen to that calling, and those that are checking, themselves to say, okay, where can I get in? That's going to be my groove, so that I can, really accelerate that energy and really get up in that draft and move that forward and get ahead of it, so that I'm prepared when it all comes crumbling down. And others around, are going, well, shoot, I wish I would have. And then there you are. You already have carved out the strength of your leadership, the strength of your voice, the direction that you can take other people in, and that immersion, that experience, that journey. It is going to require risk taking. It's not for the faint of heart.
This comes with huge amounts of courage and conviction.
Yes, huge amount. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart, but the benefit of it and getting out ahead in that is you're going to own that. You're going to have, it's like an identity, your specific identity. And there's going to be a need for these leaders that own their voice, not ones that are blended in to what society or the comforts of society and what the other ones are doing. And where they're, one of our dear friends and mentor, Ali Nicole, she talks about the fishbowl metaphor, and just kind of bring that up in this to give another example of the lane is, you currently are in some kind of container. That's how we work as human beings. We have our comforts. We have what we know to do right. We know that is going to give us that result. It's going to carry us forward. It's going to give us comfort and confidence at the end of the day. When we're doing this, when we are growing to that next level, we can go and jump into another fishbowl, or we can jump into the ocean. And the energy of that, like we were talking about with her, the energy of that. Now, there's going to be the growth and the experience that has to happen along that jump, and that's why you need people like us to be able to guide you in that. But if your sights and your lane is only fixated on just a little bigger fishbowl, maybe just a little less dirty, it's not going to give you the personal fulfillment to be able to demonstrate what your purpose is here as a leader, and to do those callings that you know deep inside your soul are waiting for you to truly own it and step up and claim, this is mine, right?
I think that's really, really true. We all live within the containers of our own beliefs. You know, I can only do this much, because if I do that, then what will people think of me? Or I'm not rich enough, or I'm not clever enough, or I'm not enough.
I'm not enough.
Again, it takes us back to do the deep dive work yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to come and just talk to you about the voice, because I think for me that you're absolutely right. This is about finding your authentic voice. But at the same time, it's about also owning the fact that we don't have all the answers. That it's not about we're right, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. It's about we're on this journey of exploration and discovery.
That's the experience part. Absolutely.
We are experiencing it. And Ali Nicole, who's a great mentor.
Yes.
But she also talked about become the journalist of your own life.
Yes.
Start to notice the patterns, because we all have them. And some of those patterns are very helpful, and other patterns are far less so.
Yeah.
But once you start to observe yourself as if you were a journalist observing the royal family or the politicians, where they actually examine every element of how they dress, how they speak, how they act, what they do, what they don't do. But if you do that for yourself, there's huge power in that. Mm-hmm. So long as you do it in a way which is constructive, that you learn, and that you're not judgmental, and it's not about being critical and saying you're rubbish, but it is about saying, that's interesting. I noticed that pattern.
Yeah.
And I have a choice. I can either continue that pattern, I can stay in the old lane, or I can choose to do it differently and motor ahead or run ahead in the lane that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I think, the fishbowl is a perfect example. Every single one of us is in a container that is limited. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that limits us is us.
Yeah.
We can choose to go into a tank. We can choose to go into a pond, a lake. But why not choose the ocean? And to go back where we started, the ocean has waves, and you can choose to ride those waves and use the energy of that water, or you can choose to drown. And I know which one I'm going to choose.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, that's no fun. I've been at the bottom sometimes turning and churning. My brother had to pick me up out of the ocean, learning how to surf. One of the things that, in relating to this, that was coming up as you're sharing and you're talking with the beliefs and so forth, is conversations that I've been having of late with my clients around commitment identity. And what that is, or identity commitment, either way you want to say it. And what it is that, especially as we get older and entrenched in our careers, we have a memorized pattern of ourselves. And you were talking a little bit about that, but we're so honed in on that's who we are and what other people expect of us. Even subconsciously, we may not realize how much stronghold it has on us. And that's what has got us here so far, and so forth. So that carving the lane, you're going to need to, as you do the work and you figure out, where do I want to turn up the volume in my life, in my leadership? Where do I want to turn it down? That it, honor it. It got you to where you're at, but it's not going to be the catalyst, that the energy strength that you need so you can accelerate in your lane. And on the other side of that, not everybody's looking to stand out, right? Not everybody's wanting to be that stands out. But for those who might be a little shyer with this versus us that are vocal, right, Tina? If you think about it, your light, back to the lighthouse, but your strength as a leader, it isn't about having to be loud and in the face in that lane, but it is about claiming the lane. It is about having conviction and being okay to be out in front, being okay to be the only one in that lane, being okay to, be able to widen your lane as you have more followers, being okay to say the lane's starting to narrow, so I got to pick another direction, and so forth. It is going to be that evolving part of it, but getting out in front of this as a leader yourself, you're going to give yourself the gifts and strengths that you're going to need to have the ability to give back to others, because you're not going to be in that lane alone. If you are, you're not a leader. I mean, you're going to be in your development parts of your lane and so forth, but feeding and nurturing yourself. Now, back to the identity for a second, and have your thoughts on this, Gina, too, is your whole mission in life is to learn. Your whole mission in life is to learn. We are card-carrying students of life. So if you're hung up on, because of the job title, because of your boss, because of the industry you're in, because of, I challenge you to do some Googling, do some searching. That is still part of that conforming to your identity restriction. This is going, these new levels of profitable leadership, these new levels will require you to level up, not upgrade. There's a difference, but level up and get in the front, like you say, the vanguard, get in and carve out your lane and be okay to be that, what's the word I'm thinking of, like an adventure, but what's the word? I can't think for a minute when you're the, I can't think for a minute, Columbus and things like that, where they're willing to go out.
Explore.
Explore. That's what I would say. Be an explorer. And you're talking about journalists, but being that explorer with it. And ask yourself, what if? That's the thing too, is if you only ask yourself questions as you're doing this exploring, Gina's reference about the journalist part and really dissecting, then you're only going to get the answers that are in the confines of your identity you have now. So push yourself outside of that. Ask yourself bigger questions. Ask yourself the challenging questions. Find leaders that are at that new era, and see where the gap is between you and them, and ask yourself the questions of what do they do, how do they do it, have those conversations and so forth, so that you can get yourself out of the equation and look at it with honest eyes of it, like you say about radical, right? Evaluation of yourself. So you don't just answer and give yourself the exact same pathway, just a little prettier with it. Your thoughts on that, Gina?
Ultimately, we are the people who will choose how big our fishbowl is. If our fishbowl is going to be based on our old identity, and for many people, even that is flawed because people have imposter syndrome and all of those other things, then you're not going to be a profitable leader moving forward. You're not in the fast lane. Those people who have the courage to step out, to challenge old ways of thinking. I'm talking to clients that talk about strong suits. Those are the patterns of behavior that initially are really helpful, but then they become more and more like a straitjacket.
Yeah.
Because
that's
they served your
identity
early on, but ultimately they've stopped serving your needs and you've not changed. And this is about divesting yourself of those constraints. And I would say for people, and it's a big stretch, I think, for many, to think about how we go to that distance forward.
Yeah.
But it is about how can you be your best self? How can you live your highest life? What are you doing on a daily basis to grow you as a person, as a leader? And first and foremost, you have to lead yourself. You are the leader of your own life. And then I think to recognize that actually that's the starting point, and looking at your identity and looking at who are you when you are absolutely being your best self. And as you get to that best self, right now, who can you be as you move into your next best self? I don't mean next in terms of... I was
going to say, because that can be limiting when we just say best self, higher self. But that expanded leadership, right, that we're going to carry some new things in it. I just, we're going to have to share and opportunities to share in that. Absolutely with that. I think one also, just because that was percolating in me about this, looking at the lanes, think for a minute, whoever your heroes are in entrepreneurship, leaderpreneurship. Is it Richard Branson? Is it Oprah Winfrey? Is it Gary Van Dyke? Is it whoever that is for you? They are lane changers. Allie Nicole, our mentor, they are lane changers. There's going to be room for you in that lane because you're going to create that lane. And the profits part of that, when we're discussing this about a new profits lane, I mean, you'll be able to bring a new mission, a new voice, a new purpose, even new technology possibly that aligns with it, new ways of doing business, new ways of developing people. We can go on and on. So there's going to be, like, some of the elements that we talked in the earlier ones, those will be expanding with you. And when they expand and you're using your profitable leadership model, then you can't help but grow in the holistic sense on the inside out, as you're talking about, and you will have opportunity. You will be that lighthouse. You will be able to draw people into your mission, into your vision with that. And so don't let that intimidate you. Even if you don't know what it looks like yet, just start moving the energy, start carving that wave, because it will reveal itself to you as you start to move it. So I love how you brought up about best and the next best. It's even one more of that. It's levels, it's higher levels.
You said that life is a lifelong learning.
Yes.
And what better to learn about than you? Oneself. And we're never done. As soon as we expand, so the world expands with us. And then you go on to the next expansion and the next expansion. And I think that for me, the people who think that they've got to know it all before they start, they're never going to start. They'll procrastinate, they'll get stuck. They'll get caught in the quicksand of trying.
Perfectionism, safety, whatever it is.
But those people who are become comfortable with, I know my purpose, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get there yet, but I actually recognize that I am on this journey. And I think for me, that's where the lanes become so important, that actually this is not about, it's got to be done in a particular way and it's got to be done in a particular time frame, although there is a sense of urgency. This is about, if you imagine a lane opening out in front of you, you don't necessarily see the whole distance of the lane when you first start. You take the first step and then the next and then the next. But this is about doing this with eloquence and style and joy and awe and wonder. And I think there's almost got to be that childlike element to this.
Prosperity.
That you recognize that just like very small children who have this incredible curiosity and the capacity to explore and be grateful for life and live a life that's full of play and joy, I think that profitable leaders are not only able to do that for themselves, but to engender that in other people. And that their lane, that they keep people wanting to move forward with them, because it's such a great place to be. And because each of them modeling that leader recognize that we are today's best self, and this is the thoughts and the understanding of today, but tomorrow we're growing and we are constantly developing. I think that the world is opening up in an amazing way, and that we will look back in 12 months, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, and we'll look back and say to ourselves, gracious me, who would have thought that this possibility would open itself? And I think if people want to be truly wealthy and profitable, and I mean that in the broadest sense, get yourself going now. Don't miss the boat. Don't do a false start.
I love it. Sometimes it feels heavy. to other people, it's like, oh, it's going to continue to be work. It's just, let me just put my anchor here and just kind of settle in and get comfortable. But what we're talking about here is being the expression. And when you're an expression of it, it becomes lighter and more fluid. And what happens is you start to push out from you and your peripheral and in your bags and whatnot, those things that aren't as important. In fact, during these current times we're in, that's what people are recognizing is truly what is the profit centers in their life. Where are they using their time and energy? Where do they wish they were? Where they've been neglecting it and so forth. In this new generation, this new era, the companies will become healthier inside out. That's what our charge is, right? As profit queens. And become healthier inside out. And one of the greatest profits that are going to come out of this is that people have the opportunity to be in the experience of their life, so they can be that expression. And as we continue to evolve, and it takes, it's not that it's hard, it's about letting go, that identity part, because when you start to let go of those creatures of habit, and you start to be the expression of your leadership why and of your goals and the direction, and you're excited and you're motivated and you have support around you to be in this lane and to sharpen it and to carve it out, your momentum naturally increases because you're not clogging it up with all kinds of junk in your trunk, and you're lighter with it and you have more joy. And isn't that going to be one of the greater profits and the expression as we kind of roll this one and tighten this one up together in closing here is going to be the joy and happiness factor. That's going to be that abundance, as you were about to say, or you were, is in all fronts. And more importantly, in who we are as an individual and feeling that peace and that home with ourselves.
I think that's very true. I think it's letting go of the efforting and letting go of the busyness and making the difference between being busy and being productive. And when you are in flow, when everything is aligned, when you are in your conscious being and you're a being and not a doing, that things really going to move forward. And I think, as people leave our series, I think it's important that they recognize that we're not done. There's lots more to come. Yes. And that they need to keep a lookout because there's going to be some great invitations for people. Yes. But I'd like to leave people with a challenge, if I may. And my challenge to you, if you've been watching this series, is to take some time to get quiet, let all the white noise go and start to think about, who are you really? What's your potential? Are you ready to step out and to come out of your comfort zone and to really step into that place of you being a profitable leader who enables other people to live a wealthy and profitable life too?
I like that. Wealthy and profitable life too. It's powerful. It gives me goosebumps. I'm so excited to continue to create with you, Gina. We definitely, so the viewers here, keep an eye out because we have some exciting invitations that are going to allow you to take this to a deeper level and have us as your guides to help you do that. So don't get overwhelmed. Take her challenge on. Absolutely love that. We would love to hear your feedback too in the comments about it and what you took away with this. And we look forward to supporting you to take on the journey of new levels of profitable leadership. Thank you, Gina. This has been a great experience with you.
It's been great. And thanks, Renee. And thank you for watching. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Thank you.